Okay. Okay, cool. So hey, hello, nice to meet you. I'm Renee. Thank you for sharing your time today to have interview with us. So before we go to the other questions, I would have one question about during your experience as a data scientist and manager, as a manager role. Can you give us an example of what's the most difficulty problem that you resolve or you're leading the team to resolve it? Can you share maybe one, two, three examples of that?
Okay, let me start with my in the most difficult problem I've solved in my last job. So I was a data scientist manager responsible for growth analytics at the time. And however, given an unforeseen regulatory command, we were asked to focus on more profitable buy now pay later service instead of the original virtual credit card business. However, there are three challenges that we face. One, in the past, the data was only focused on transaction and the customer. We don't really have much merchant side data and don't have expertise in understanding how the e-commerce work. Secondly, the time is really tight given that it was an unforeseen strategic change. Therefore, we really want to come out with growth strategy as soon as possible. So how I deal with this problem is that one, I led the team and negotiated with the Tmall, the e-commerce site, to import the relevant data. And secondly, I invited the partner as well as a lot of guest speakers to come to speak to the team and introduce us to the business model. And we were able to understand how the merchants and customers work together in this business. And thirdly, the team were able to break down this business model into the merchant adoption as well as the customer adoption and came up with a category and the merchant ranking and also recommended numerous business actions and all resulted in a doubled growth rate in a high potential categories such as beauty and electronics. So it was over 3 months and rated as the most innovative project of the year. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. So you mentioned that you lead the team to learn good practice from outside of the company, and then also lead the team to leverage the experience learned and focus on your company's problem and do dive deep and think out the strategy and also had a deliverable good impact.
Yeah, so I guess one clarification is that the affiliated company. So technically, it's not outside of the company. We do share the same websites and have access to the learning center, and as well as same Teams messaging. So it's much easier to learn from almost like a coworker type of setting. So that is, I guess, one advantage that we had. Yeah.
Okay, yep, got it. So how do you deal with your stakeholders, your partner team in the business side?
So you mean like what kind of collaboration model that I adopt?
Right, from the business side. For example, if your team don't own the data, how do you deal with the partner team who owns data to support your team do the analytics? Or like the business team, how do you suggest or recommend the analytics insights, help them to take action? You can be there, how you guide your team to be self proactively to work with partner teams.
So let me try one example and see if that fits into your intention of asking. So we do own a collaborative space where we can create a query bridging to affiliated company and have the data insights over there. So during the process, we often have new data tables and unknown variable name that is to us. So that, therefore, we need to either bother the stakeholder or bother the data team across over that side to help us understand which variable is good to use. So the typical method is that one, we have a high level process-wise, we have a high-level scope of what we are trying to achieve, and therefore what type of attributes we are interested in. Secondly, we run it across our stakeholder who will get approval from the e-commerce side and bring up the data to the collaborative space. And then the third step will be that we do some test runs based on our best efforts and try to learn as much as possible ourselves with the data. And then after we've done some exploratory analysis, we will confirm with them on some high-level numbers, such as like total transaction per month by category, etc., to make sure that we're on the right direction. And after that, it's similar to a normal data analysis project where we can join the outside or external new data with our attributes that we are used to, and then proceed as normally. Yeah. So that is the process, how we collaborate with the stakeholder and data team on the other side.
Okay. Do you have experience that the business team didn't ask for something, or they are directing in different direction, but you or your team find out some insights from data and then guide the business team, say, hey, here's the more potential opportunities we should change or investment on the other well points which they are not planned at the beginning. Do you have that experience?
There are many type of project that fits into that description. So on the high level, there is time that we watch out for the profitability of campaign and optimize our campaign targetings. And there are also time when we participate in the drive or change the product map for the business partner. So do you have any specific preference which type of analytics project you would like to hear? I have numerous examples in both areas. Yeah.
Oh, I would like to listen to some specific example, maybe not exactly what to do, maybe from the perspective of how the communication get aligned or disaligned, and then what's the final decision and the two different point or opinions get in the middle of some alignments. I would like to know the process, but not be very specific, say which kind of detailed analysis project itself. I just want to know the negotiation or the communication collaboration process.
Yeah, I have one example that was quite lengthy and complicated. So when I was looking at the acquisition so I was responsible for customer acquisition, and we do have a monitoring system to understand the quality of our past acquired customer. However, one thing I do notice is that for 50% of the customer is inactive after 6 months of being acquired, and 20% are inactive after 3 months being acquired. And I brought this up to our acquisition partner. However, she mentioned that since her annual KPI is focusing on acquisition volume, therefore the active rate is just good to have, and as long as it stays constant, it is not her concern. However, we felt that because all of our customers are brought 80% of our acquired customers are brought in by campaign, and those campaign, even though the cost benefit cost or any kind of CPA analysis will justify on a high level the acquired cost. However, I feel there may be still room to improve, and instead of focusing on acquisition volume, we can still focusing on the acquiring quality customer rather than pure volume alone. So I brought this up to my manager, who mentioned that I can coordinate with the algorithm team to find out if we switch to a different target variable when designing the acquisition campaign. How much money can we save in terms of acquiring quality customers? So we together did a lot of exploratory analysis. First, we found out that if a customer stay with us for 3 transactions for the first month, then they are going to stay with us much longer. And that is only 1 month observation window, which will be a quick feedback for the algorithm loop. So we together decided on a proposal that they will, instead of focusing on total number of acquired customer, given the budget, they will propose to acquire the customer that have 3 transactions for the first month and optimize for that variable instead. And so together we had the deck and a proposal and present to the head of business with my manager sponsoring us. And we were able to implement the algorithm change. And after the change, if we use the quality customer as the metrics, you can see that we actually save 35% money and have 25% more quality customer with the same budget. So I think this example is complicated because there are quite a few, turns, because the acquisition team, they had the acquired, regionally acquisition team only care about number of acquired customer, but as a business, we care about quality customer or monthly active user. So it's really to work backwards as what's most important holistically rather than regionally. So I think that was one of the most complicated case, I've dealt with.
Yeah, I think that's a good example because you have like a broader view, not only for one team's KPI, but a broader view to persuade, say, hey, here is more fundamental thing we need to tackle, and will also benefit for their KPI in the long-term way. So that's a good example. Thank you for that. My next question, because you are a manager role, so I want to ask about, do you have any case that stakeholder ask for a very tight timeline, or in the middle of your team's development, you found the stressness in the delivery in the original plan, the timeline, and how do you tackle with the stakeholder and your team to make trade-off decision or any final results that satisfy at some extent from both business and your team's side?
So last year I was in task to build a dashboard for, at the time it was saying that they would eventually want a dashboard, but first they would like to have an analysis for the CFO regarding the monthly active user change year over year and the cost of change broken down by acquisition, retention, and attrition, and etc. So at first, they were only giving us 2 weeks to conduct the full analysis. However, the timeline is very tight because the ask is extremely ambiguous, and there is so many definitions within the company, and there are just many decisions to be made even before kicking off the analysis. So what I did was, one, I assemble a quick team meeting and form a project group where one of our most senior data experts was tasked to come up with a set of data without alignment on the definition first. So we just want to understand how to dissect the inflows and outflows and have an initial draft of proposal with our most often used definition first. Secondly, I pushed my manager as well as my skip manager on collaborate brainstorming on what may be the reason why the CFO is asking such a question. And even though they were saying that the email is all the information they've got, at the end, my VP was able to call the finance VP and got the background information after 2 days. So at that time, we actually know that the reason why they ask, firstly, is because they are on a financial planning season and they want to understand how much new acquisition they will need in 2024 to break even on the monthly active user. So that was the background. And then the monitoring monthly active user on a regular basis is the secondary request, but they feel it is also important for the company to have such a KPI dashboard. So with that context, things become much more clear. As we know, it's for financial planning purpose, the definition sets that we need to adopt is also clear. So bringing back this information, I called a team meeting again, and first we spent time. So we had a chance to gather the relevant information and quickly calculate a few scenarios how to break even on the monthly active user. And at the secondly, I had the team to assess a feasible timeline to build up a dashboard that will on an ongoing basis monitor the inflows and outflow of the population as well. So at the end, we were able to give the new customer break-even number within 4 days. And for the dashboard, we had a detailed execution plan and were able to deliver the mock-up in a week and a half, and committing to have it, the first version run in 3 weeks. So we were able to negotiate the timeline. As the leadership see the mock-up, they feel pretty confident. So the 2 week originally, the timeline wasn't really a real timeline. So we were able to push it to the 3 week, but we did give them the number that they need to go forward with the annual FP&A. Yeah.
I see. Okay, that's a good example. Okay, cool. Do you have any experience when one of your team members actually is underperformance? How do you deal with this kind of situation?
You are asking about low performer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So first of all, there are many drivers of a low performer. So I'll give you a recent example. I had one of the direct reports, Raj, who has about 5 years of data science experience. However, I noticed several things after working with him for 2 months. One is that there are often data errors in his deliverables, that it does not match dashboard remotely at all. Secondly, he will promise to a timeline, however, only either deliver a partial result or completely miss the deadline. And thirdly, because his turnaround is relatively slow, the business partner is also complaining about the I guess the service that they are receiving. So with all that, I schedule a one-on-one with Suraj and talk to him about that I have noticed that about the data accuracy and turnaround or like the deadline not being met, and ask his perspective. So so first he felt he was still close to timeline, and but from the data accuracy part, he will be willing to improve gradually. So from there, we together make a 3 month improvement plan, and I also assigned a buddy to help with if there is any data knowledge or data like SQL questions. So first month we focus really on the data accuracies, and we made sure that he is tasked with, I guess, less amount of work, but we ask him to triple check his data, because as a manager, I would rather to have an analyst who is a little slow but always correct, rather than someone who is fast but sometimes wrong. So I focus on getting him to deliver correct output first. And then after weekly checking, we taught him a couple tricks, such as checking checking with another dashboard and how to check along all the total sums is consistent, etc. along the way. So he was able to improve the accuracy in the first month. And the second month, we focus on time estimation and timeline, meeting the timeline. So that ask him to come up with a timeline himself and see whether he's able to hit it. And then also having a clear expectation that if he commit to a certain timeline, he need to raise flag or risk the risk flag if he is going to miss it completely. At least I would say like a day ahead rather than at the last hour. So he gradually is trained to raise the risk flag. And then lastly, because his quality and turnaround speed improved, his relationship with a stakeholder is also better. And I further teach him a few skills about stakeholder communication, such as storytellings, and focusing on the actionable insights rather than the data itself, etc. So using those skills, he was able to win back the trust from the stakeholders. So all in all, at the end of 3 months, he was able to performing quite close to an average analyst. And the later 3 months, I also have a few other development areas for him. And at the end, he was much better than before, and at least meeting the performance standard.
Okay, that's good. Okay, got you. Do you have examples for the project that you are leading to the team to take trade-off of long-term benefits and short-term deliverable? Do you have examples when you have need to make this decision, and what kind of well points you take, and how do you communicate with other partner team to finalize aligned on the decision?
So I think the closest example I will think of is for a kind of repetitive data ask. Do we utilize some kind of data dashboard to answer, or do we repeat the ad hoc pool, right? And not every scenario will have same answer. So if we do find that the ask is repetitive and relatively stable format, then we will prioritize the long-term value. So meaning that we will invest sometimes a full month of work to automate a dashboard, so that in the future our partner can self-serve. However, there are also other times when the requests keep changing, or we can foresee that the business priority may be different in the second half of the year. And in that case, we will probably prioritize quick turnaround and focus more on the ad hoc pool rather than having the long-term solutions for the problem. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So I think maybe another question, depending on company, I think your company may also have, some kind of recurring feedback collection time period. So can you, do you mind share with us the strongest point that you get from your reporters or your partner teams? What's your strongest point, and any feedback about your growth area?
You mean the feedback from the stakeholder side?
Either side, stakeholder or your reporter.
Direct report. So that sounds like 4 questions in one. I think let me start from the direct report side. So I would say 2 key strengths. One is to really have the transparency with the direct reports. When transparency come in, I guess, several layers. One is to like I don't play like information arbitrage. So what type of information I receive, either from leadership or from business partner, I always share with the team at the first like available time. And also I made the performance evaluation standard very transparent. So if someone is not meeting the standard, then I will give the feedback in the real time that they are failing at a like area A and area B, and here is the expectation. And thirdly, I remain open that if anyone is interested in exploring new areas or any concerns with the business partner collaboration, they need to let me know, and I will come up with new models or like advice in how to improve the relationship or improve the work method. So I feel that is probably one of the strength. And then the second strength I would say is adaptable and keep evolving. And I think that strength came from the fact that I worked for many type of company in the past, and in both China and in US, and the diverse background made me, in a way, forced me to be adaptable and able to understand people from different perspectives and different styles. So from the area to improve, I'm still working on the delegation for some key projects, so I can get nervous at times especially when the requests come from leadership, such as like SVPs or even like CFO requests. So I do get very nervous and want to tackle the problem myself directly and like be the host for every single meeting. However, as the executive requests became more of a norm this year, I realized that I do have room to let go some of the requests and let the team be able to deal with it for two benefits. One is that they are able to learn and grow and potentially can help to cover me when I'm on leave or even one day not with the company anymore. And two, it released me from doing something more valuable, such as like strategic setting, etc. So that is on the direct report side. And then I can go to the stakeholder side if you still want to continue.
Yeah. If you
on the stakeholder side, I would say one of the strength is to be able to contribute to the story that they need to form for the year, or I would say the strategic planning part. And I think I benefit from being a product manager in the past myself, so I can really see things from the business view and think of areas or points that the business partner may not have thought about. So I feel that strengths actually serve me quite well in guiding business partners and giving them advice on what we can do together next time, or they probably can push the other team harder on some topic. So I feel that actually helped me very well and let me have some ownership in the business, and as well as some say in what we should work on next. From the weakness part, I think sometimes I focus a lot about being correct in the data, especially earlier last year. However, I think there are two things or two weaknesses about that point. One is that there are sometimes using the most correct logic will make understanding very difficult, right? So there are some smoothing needed when presenting to executive leadership. So for example, say the definition of active, like 98%, it means this a purchase activity. And there are 2% of other activity that's called active, right? So in that sense, most people think purchase active equals active, I don't necessarily need to correct them that, oh, it means purchase and other type of activity, as that is not what the audience is used to hear. So being too too correct or overly emphasizing on absolutely correct is definitely not helping me, especially on the executive deck preparations. So, and then secondly, there are some time when I insist on some data angle and may lose the bigger picture on the business side. So that I did have a good lesson last year that not only we should focus on the data trend, but also we need to focus on additionally like what from the monitoring perspective, the data trend may be going down, but however, is there anything that we can actually do from the business, and maybe that part of the data is actually growing, right? So then I think to be able to be diplomatic about some of the data sharing is one of the area that I have been trying to improve along this month with numerous executive updates. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing that. Cool. Okay. I think I'm so far good. 就是我觉得因为这个 role 是一个 manager role 嘛，所以我的问题里面有一些是针对 manager 的。我觉得你的回答其实大部分都挺好的，可能刚开始的那1-2个问题可能稍微这个 point 有点偏，就是会到做什么。其实对于 manager 来说，很多问题都要联系到说怎么做。当然有些是要说做什么，但是有些可能是更多的是需要这个 communication 的视觉来回答这个问题。而且我觉得总体来说，可能最后你也说到了，你的有些项目呢，就是说你自己会先将病，而不是说很多是留给这个 team。就是从整个你跟我说的一些 example 来说，或者是我觉得其实你蛮 detail 在这种自己的 experience，因为你说的很多都是蛮细的东西，所以可能相对来说，作为 manager 的话，可能一部分要 cover，就是说你对这个 business 这个业务很熟，另外还是要更 focus 说你怎么去 lead 这个 team achieve the goal，或者是 lead the team achieve goal 更大，就是任何一个地方可能都稍微带一点，可能会对你去 apply manager role 可能会好一些。然后再就是整个问题下来，其实我包括了几个就是 leadership，一个是 think big deliver results，还有一个呢就是commit 叫什么 backbone and commit。还有一个是最后的就是 high 叫什么来着我都忘记了，就是 raise the hiring bar， 就是 high 的叫什么来着？对，就这几个，然后还有最后一个就是那个作为 manager 怎么去 control 这个 low performer，所以大概我是 cover 了这几点，对，然后我觉得大概要改，就是稍微再 polish 一些的，可能就是大概这些。
所以总结一下，就是描述项目，第一是更多沟通，然后更少的技术细节或者是 what it is，然后第二是 scope 这个能讲一个例子吗？就比如说哪一个例子你可能觉得scope 怎么听上去好像有点小，还是说你觉得只要 detail 省掉这个 scope 问题就会解决掉？
我说的可能不是 scope 的问题，可能是需要说，在说某一个具体的，比如说一个问题，比如说你的，我就是比如说你要做一个project，可能 detail 说，我要用什么数据怎么做，是很 detail，但是呢，可能会给别人的感觉就是说，你是非常自己去 hands on，但是并没有说，你怎么去guide 你的 team member 去做这件事情，可能从这个的角度稍微少了一点，可能这个也是跟你最后说的，说从你的组员那块给你的 feedback，就是说很多时候可能你需要更多的机会让你的组里的组员去做，让他们去学，所以我觉得这个应该给我的感觉和你刚才说的你的组员给你的 feedback 可能是比较相通的。
可能就是还是更多自己撸起袖子自己做的视角，然后从例子跟 feedback 都能看到这个影子，对吧？
对，我是觉得说我是看到了，所以我觉得你的组员给你的 feedback 其实还蛮好的，
嗯
因为我记得好像，因为我在问问题的时候，其实我就是会强调说你怎么 lead 你的 team 去做这种 communication 啊、negotiation 之类的东西，所以可能稍微你再加一点，你怎么教这个组去跟这个做这个项目，怎么样的，比如说一些 mechanism 啊，或者是一些东西，就是说作为一个 manager 嘛，你不是说实际去做，你应该是说怎么让你的 team 做的事情更多，让你的 team 更有效的去做这件事情，可能需要这些，可能稍微再多聊一些，可能会好一些。
嗯，好的。
对，嗯，但是我觉得整个都是蛮好的，就是给个例子的时候，其实你都已经从问题呀、然后到怎么解决，其实都很详细，然后最后得到什么结果，其实都很详细。嗯，
对，也给 audience 撒一把鸡汤，这个都是这个我累计可能，因为有一个网上视频说 Amazon 大概 BQ 要准备20个小时起，然后我其实那天算了一下，我可能30-40个小时了已经total。对，但是我觉得
对对对，
对，但
嗯，
我觉得我30-40个小时准备下来，可能是发挥到我现在的能力的 potential，但是有可能就像你说的，工作中有一些 too hands on，所以会导致我就算40个小时 polish 出来的例子，它依然会有实际的影子，它并不是一个造出来的情况，对吧？所以它这个现实的影子，它还是很明显的呈现在了这个答案里面。Despite the fact 我花了这么多时间，但是因为我没有就是理论上也可以再拔高一下，但是实际上还是在现实中可能可以再 improve 一下，然后就可能有一些新鲜的 case。对，嗯
对，主要是你这个肉不是一般，不是 IC 肉，所以可能会不太一样。
嗯。对，我最早是按 IC，我最早是刚开始我是2轮的 preparation，我最早是按 IC role 做了一轮 prepare，后来又补了一些
嗯，
manager 的 BQ，但是就是IC role 的那一些，反正也是要双用吧。我不知道如果以后面 IC 岗的话，可能是不是也要用 IC 的例子，对吧？所以它可能还是不同的岗
对对对
用不同的例子。就因为现在
对
manager 的岗基本没有，所以
对，比
我可
较少。
对。
behavior question 这个东西，就是你的这个 role 的角色的重要性更多一点。如果是
嗯
问 technical 的话，那其实就是另外一个，就是不管是因为像有的 Amazon 有些 team，它虽然是 manager，但是它是把当 tech lead，所以它有专门的去面这个 tech 这一块，那其实就不太分。它虽然不像 SDE 说要你去做这个 coding screen 啦，它虽然不那么做，但是比如说 scientist 的话，他还是去会问一些基本的，就是 scientist 的一些理论的问题，所以它是那个 tech 的 depth 的地方。但是 behavior 的话，一般跟这个 role 关系很大，所以 IC 和 manager 会差的比较多。
嗯。好
嗯。
呀，还是学到了。
然后，对，然后还有一个就是说，要么它是有一个 bar raiser 的，就是我
嗯
刚才问的问题，其实都不是那种 bar raiser 的问题。bar raiser 的问题，其实有的时候会非常抠得很细。比如说你举了一个例子，他会 so what so what so what 或者 why，搞好几轮，会让你觉得说，哎，我都已经说得很明白了，为什么你还是听不明白？他会
嗯
有这个 barrier 而且这个 barrier 这个角色的这个投票权是很重的，就是说大家都同意，但是 barrier 说不同意，那都不同意，就最后就是不同意。所以，而且 barrier 大部分会放在这个 behavior question 上，它很少会放在这个science steps 和 breath 上。
嗯，
但是我刚才问你的问题，其实都不算是 barrier
对，
的。
因为我之前有打听过，他们会问什么 How would you do it differently 啊，然后还有很多，嗯，
他会一直深抛，他会一直深
对，
抛，抛到你都觉得说，我都说的很明白了，你为什么还要再问？就是很无奈这种，他
哦，
会有这种，
嗯，对， 好呀。
好的，大概就是这些了。